الله أكبر الله أكبر.
Assalamu alaikum and welcome to the Islamic Center at New York University podcast, coming to you straight from the heart of New York City. We're building an amazing Muslim community here at ICNYU where everyone is welcomed and respected no matter where you're from or where you're at. This is the place to be. So open your ears and your heart and come along with us on another life-changing journey. Bismillah.
Bismillahir Rahmanir Rahim. Alhamdulillahi Rabbil Alameen. Wa la hawla wa la quwwata illa billahil aliyyil azim. Wassalatu wassalamu ala ashrafil anbiya'i wal mursaleen wa ala alihi wa sahbihi ajma'in. Wa nashhadu an la ilaha illallah wahdahu la sharika lahu. ونشهد أن سيدنا مولانا محمدا عبده ورسوله. In the name of Allah, the gracious, the merciful, all praise is due to Allah, the Lord of the universe, the master of the day of judgment. I bear witness and testimony to the oneness of Allah, to His magnificence, His omnipotence, His might, His glory, to His being the creator and sustainer of all things, the giver of life, the guider of hearts, the master of the day of judgment. And I bear witness to the fact that Muhammad ibn Abdullah sallallahu alayhi wasallam is His servant and final messenger. May the peace and blessings of Allah be upon him and upon all those who choose to tread in his path until the last day. Of the many things that Allah Azza wa Jal takes oath by in the Quran, He takes oath by 10 auspicious days within our calendar. The taking of an oath by the divine in the Quran gives an indication that that object that He is taking an oath by has a deep importance to it. And in this particular chapter of the Quran, Allah Azza wa Jal, He starts by saying, وَالْفَجْرِ وَلَيَالٍ عَشْرٍ, that by the Fajr and by these 10 nights. And the Mufassireen, they say that those 10 nights that Allah is taking oath by, elevating them and giving them a distinction that is so important that for all of the remainder of time in this world, everyone who reads the Quran is going to know that they were important enough to be taken oath by. The Mufassireen, they say that that oath is giving indication to the first 10 days of Dhul Hijjah. And whether we're aware of it or not, we're just some weeks away from those blessed 10 days. May Allah make us from amongst those who reach them and benefit from them. And to understand their importance, to put it in contrast to an entire month of Ramadan that many of us are familiar with, that we give up so much in relation to, in terms of fasting in its days and praying in its nights, in terms of charity and worship and ibadah, in terms of abstaining from acts that are illicit, acts that are vile, gossiping, lying, cheating, backbiting, engaging overtly in acts that are good, kindness, compassion, generosity, charity. These 10 days of Dhul Hijjah, they're said to be better than any day in the calendar, inclusive of every day of that month of Ramadan. The nights of Ramadan are given a distinction, especially the last 10 nights, because within them it is said most likely there's Laylatul Qadr. But in our tradition, by mention of the Quran and echoed in the Hadith, the 10 days that are just moments away from you, they're the best days in the entire year. And you have to think about them in that way. The notion within this, in the hadith, the Prophet ﷺ says that deeds in these 10 days are better than deeds than at any other time. Actions that you would undertake in those days are more important than actions that you would take at any other time. The ability for them to be transformational, magnified, are rooted in a principle that just like we experience seasons on a natural level, you go from a summer to a fall to a winter to a spring. You experience within the course of a calendar year snowfall, rainfall, gentle breezes, extreme heat. So too there are seasons of worship within our tradition. And the purpose of these are things that can evoke within us an opportunity to get excited the way that you believe so deeply in the auspiciousness of Laylatul Qadr that you would give up sleep for an entire 10 nights in anticipation of it. That you believe so much in what the virtues and benefits are of Ramadan, you leave food and drink behind for a course of 30 days. You got to channel that same energy of recognizing importance and not being from amongst those who the blessings of the 10 days of Dhul Hijjah leave you behind as they do so many, because you individually have decided that they're not important enough to me that I'm going to actually make use of them. We have everyone just move up again, if you can come in close. If there's any kind of space in front of you, carpet that you can fill up, that would be appreciated. And this is a foundational understanding of our relationship to the divine. We can have this conversation in a few different ways. In some moments we'll talk about, well, what are the things that I should be anticipating in those 10 days of Dhul Hijjah that are ahead of me? But each and every day when you and I stand to pray, we evoke our Lord as being our Rabb. And we make dua, Ihdina sirat al-mustaqim. Guide us to a straight path, the translations say. The Quran is very particular in the ways that it utilizes terms. There's nothing without meaning in Allah's plan. And quite often when you see Allah evoked as Rabb, our Lord, there becomes mention now in some capacity of hidayah, guidance. So here Rabbul Alameen gets attached later on in the surah to Ihdina sirat al-mustaqim. You are every day asking Allah to give you this hidayah. It gives us an understanding that 17 times in a day when you evoke this statement, you're in a place that recognizes that just like you can get thirsty and you need to replenish with water, and just like you get hungry and you need to replenish with food, just like you get exhausted physically and you need sleep to replenish, hidayah is something that also needs replenishment. You don't get it just once and then you're set with it. You don't just have huda in your life momentarily and then it suffices you for the rest of your days. But just like your iman can oscillate, just like taqwa can go up and down, being in a place where guidance is something that has the capacity to increase and decrease, but it necessitates replenishment, so you're asking multiple times a day. Fajr comes, Ihdina sirat al-mustaqim. And then Dhuhr comes and a bunch of things happen and you need it a little bit more. Ihdina sirat al-mustaqim. Give me some guidance. Asr comes sometime later. Maghrib comes sometime later. Isha comes sometime later. If you purposely or mistakenly missed any of them and you didn't ask for it in between, there's that much more of a need for it with a larger gap in between. But that hidayah is a cornerstone base to the relationship with the divine. So if you want to know what your Rabb is, you have to ask, where do I take guidance from? What is it that becomes the base of determining the choices that I choose or the decisions that I decide upon? And intrinsic to the relationship between our Rabb and us being the ibad I individually being an abd. You can't be an abd of your Rabb if you're not willing to take the guidance that He's giving to you. And if you're not aware of where the guidance comes from, it doesn't mean that you're still not being guided by something. فَوَوَجَدَ ضَعْلًا فَهَدَى, Allah says in the Quran. Did we not find you in the state that you were astray and lost and gave you this hidayah? And in moments like this, when seasons of worship come upon us, where there are literally millions of people trying to go for Hajj, and of them percentages that will actually be allowed to by virtue of lotteries that take place in other parts of the world. I went for Umrah last year in June, the first time I went to Mecca and Medina after the pandemic restrictions were in place. And 3 friends of mine and I, we went right before the first Hujjaj were going for a Hajj last year. We booked our own flights, we got our own hotels, we got tourist visas. It was pretty simple for us. And we walked into the masjid in Medina, and there was an elder Indonesian man that came to us and asked us where we were from. And we said, from America. And he said, I'm from Indonesia. And he said, how was it for you coming here? And we said, it was really easy. We went online and did everything in about 15 minutes, and it all got sent to our emails. And we said, how was it for you? And he said, it was so easy. And we said, what did you do? He said, I applied to go for Hajj 11 years ago. And this year is when my name came up in the lottery. That's what some people do. As soon as they have the means. But they know where they're taking their hidayah from. Where do you take yours from? What are you an abd of? Because to be an abd of Rabb al-Alameen, you have to be willing to take hidayah from Allah. Not from your nafs, not from my mother said this and that's why I do it. Not from what is popular culturally, not what is accessible from systemically oppressive structures, not from what is deemed normative based off of other people's standards, but to be an abd of Allah, to be Abdullah, to be Abdul Rahman, to be Abdul anything that is we are taught of the divine names of Allah, to be an abd of that Rabb, you got to be willing to take hidayah from Allah. The instruction comes from Allah. The guidance comes from Allah. The book is called a Huda for the Muttaqeen. The insight that it offers, the wisdoms, the teachings, the guidance. You can't claim to be an abd if you're taking guidance from someplace else. If Allah tells you to wake up for Fajr and you struggle with it, it's different than saying that I have to be alert at 9 a.m. for a different meeting. Then what are you an abd of? If you decide that I don't have to give my zakat, if you're in a place where you determine that the fara'id, they're applicable to everybody except me, if you think that you are following Allah's guidance by not letting your child marry somebody from a different culture, if you only associate with people who speak the same language or come from the same race, if you're in a place where you attribute now your successes to yourself and not realize that everything is a gift from the divine, He is Malik of everything, not you. If you think you play a role in determining how many breaths you have to breathe in this world, if you think there's minutes and moments that you have to waste on fighting and gossiping and lying and cheating and backbiting, what are you an abd of? Who are you taking hidayah from? And to be an abd of Rabb al-Alameen, you have to be able to take and be willing to take hidayah from that Creator. There's going to be, in just a short period of time, millions of people who are going for a Hajj. Something to think about. Going to Dhul Hijjah, all of us don't have the means to go. Some of us do. Why haven't you gone yet? If you have a moral objection at the level of persecution, societal inequity, oppression, that's rooted in your values that say, I cannot give money to an oppressive regime, fine. But that's not the reason that most of you are not going. Especially those of us who have the means to go. And if you have the means, that's when it becomes fard. You have the physical capacity, the health, the wellness, the financial means. It does not negate impending, overwhelming responsibilities of some kind. People in your care, etc. Why are you not going? What are you an abd of? Where do you take guidance from? Millions of people are going to be walking in the footsteps of the Prophet Ibrahim alayhi salam and his blessed family, literally orienting themselves in relation to the Kaaba. What do you do tawaf of every day of your life? What has you running around in circles in pursuit of it? What are you willing to give up your sleep for? What do you sacrifice your relationships, your time for? What am I an abd of? Where do I take hidayah from? Why is it a question that's important to understand? Because it's a question we're going to be asked about. This is what our theology teaches us, what our tradition teaches us, that when we transition from this world into the next world, and may Allah make all of our graves places of light and illumination, the angels will come, Munkar and Nakir, and they ask you questions. Man Rabbuk, Ma Dinuk, Man Nabiyuk, that who is your Rabb? What is your deen? Who is your Nabi? And at that point, you're not able to just say what you feel like saying, because you're not answering from your tongue. You're answering from representation of how you lived your life in this world. So the angel's going to ask you, who is your Rabb? It's not a trivia question that you're answering, but you're going to answer based off of how you actually lived your life. And this is an important thing to understand, because again and again in the Quran, when Allah is identifying Himself as our Rabb, there's usually mention of our relationship to Him vis-a-vis this process of gaining hidayah. So if I'm not taking hidayah from Allah, it doesn't mean I'm not taking it from someplace. And a big lesson to be able to reflect upon as the Hajj days come upon us is, why haven't I gone for Hajj yet, man? What's really important to me? What makes sense of why the things that are keeping me from going are keeping me from going? Ihdina Sirat al-Mustaqim is beautiful, especially in the context of the days of Dhul Hijjah. Because the sirat in and of itself is already a pathway that's straight. And so mustaqim is not qualifying it as a path that is straightened by istiqamah, because sirat is already something that's straight. And not only is it straight, but a sirat is a pathway that's very expansive. It doesn't mean that you're journeying alone. You say ihdina, that guide us. Who is included in the us that you are invoking Allah by when you are making this dua every single day? You do it mindlessly, then you're going to do it mindlessly. That's where it's just from the tongue and not from the heart. But do you incorporate every single person that's going to be sitting next to you in this room? Rich and poor, black, white and brown, young and old, male and female, of all backgrounds, diverse in all of their forms. Because Al-Wadud, who is the source of love, He loves His creation in embracing all of their diversity, as well as accepting despite imperfections. That's what perfect love does. Who's privileged to be in the we that you are invoking Allah by when you say, guide us, ihdina. Would you include all of the people who would never be allowed to eat a meal in your house? Who wouldn't be allowed to marry your child? Would they never be breaking fast with you or getting a hug from you on Eid simply because they come from a different place? And the best of days that are upon us in just weeks, these days of Dhul Hijjah, there will be people coming from every part of the world, connected at the level of La ilaha illallah. You got to be able to take guidance from your Rabb, that He builds 5 times a day an opportunity for you to break away from what it is that separates people in a world rooted in stratification, entrenched in anti-blackness. And creates for you a once-in-a-lifetime opportunity that when you go and stand in the places of Hajj, Mina, Arafah, Muzdalifah, Mecca, Medina, you see everyone from everywhere in these places. But if Allah is not your Rabb, and you take guidance from something that tells you that it's okay for you to believe that you are better than someone simply because of the country that you were born into, the people who are your parents, then where are you getting hidayah from? That's not what the Quran says. The recommendations that come to us as we understand our relationship to these 10 days that are upon us. The Prophet ﷺ, in the first 9 days of those days of Dhul Hijjah, the recommendation was to fast if you have the capacity to. And if you couldn't fast every single of those 9 days, you want to definitely fast if you have the physical capacity to the 9th of Dhul Hijjah, the day before Eid, called the day of Arafah. We're talking about this well in advance so that you can plan for it now and execute on the plan. Because a small action that is performed, it is much better than great actions that are only planned but never executed upon. So think right now, the day before Eid, what am I going to be doing? And if I have the means to fast, why would I not fast? The hadith says that it serves as an expiation of misdeeds from the year prior and the year ahead. It creates an excitement if you're willing to acknowledge that you have capacity to improve. And this is where Sirat al-Mustaqim comes in this dua that you make. Ihdina Sirat al-Mustaqim, because the Sirat is already straight. So what istiqamah is talking about, Mustaqim here, is qiyam. You stand up. That's what qiyam is. You're going upright. So as much as you're walking on a straight path forward, as you're walking forward straight, you're also elevating upward in that process. And as you go up, things get tougher, they get harder. They don't get easier. The opportunity to be able to put that into a perspective of what these days mean to me. That day of Arafah, you got to fast on it. And you got to use it for what it's intended for. Make dua, even if you're not on the plain of Arafah. There's going to be millions of people who are standing on that plain of Arafah. And if you've ever experienced it, it literally gives to you an opportunity to think about what a day of judgment would look like. What more do you need? Literally 3 days ago, the sky turned orange and yellow. If it didn't freak you out, I don't know what it is that you've been doing with your life. Or how it makes sense of what you really understand the capacity of the divine to be. To think about the number of people who their biggest concern was, I have to wear a mask again? As opposed to saying, Alhamdulillah, a simple piece of cloth will be able to protect me from any illness or ailment. Let alone thinking about the thousands of people who have no choice other than to just be in that mess because the streets are their home. May Allah grant them ease. This is why you need the day of Arafah, to remove the clutter from inside. So that when you see things, you see them the way Allah wants you to see them, not through the nafs, not through egocentricity, not through what is about me alone. Your day of Arafah is not just for you, it's for everyone around you. Just like the fulfillment of your Hajj is not just about you checking off a box, but you are better if you actually perform your Hajj. And the people around you, they need you to be the best version of yourself. Those 9 days of Dhul Hijjah, if you can fast any of them, fast any of them. But definitely fast on the 9th of Dhul Hijjah, the day of Arafah. The 10th day of Dhul Hijjah, this is the day of Eid al-Adha. It's a holiday. From right now, you want to plan to celebrate your holiday. By the 18th of June, we will know when the day of Eid will be and the day of Arafah will be. It's going to either be on a Wednesday or a Thursday, which are both work days. And if you are in a place where you are privileged to not have to go to work, then don't go to work. Because there's some of us in this room who they have to go to work. There's some people who would long to be able to celebrate the holiday as it is meant to be celebrated, but they have no choice other than they work in an industry that people will just let them go, and they can't afford to do that. That's why you have to do it with a sense of planning and strategy from now. And as you celebrate it, you think about the people you will bring into celebration with you, and who it is that you know is going to be on their own. What is it that you can do in those blessed 10 days, that the deeds in those days are better than any other days? There's 2 people who are going to take their shahada after Jumu'ah today. Who's going to invite them to celebrate Eid with them? Who's thinking about them already in anticipation of what must the day of Eid be like for someone whose family is not Muslim? Or that the Muslims that are around them only see them as a project to be able to say, now do this and do that and do this and don't do that. That's you. You got to think about it. To be in a place where you participate and engage in what it is that will help for others to celebrate the holiday as well. I've been to refugee camps in different parts of the world, and I sat with people who literally have nothing. And I've met some of them days before Eid, and when I ask them, what is it that you're hoping for? And they're saying, I hope that after 10 months of just eating the same rice 3 times a day, literally, no exaggeration, that I can maybe give my children some meat to eat on the day of Eid. And without any hesitation, the people that take me to these places, they pull me aside and they say, don't promise them anything, because we won't have anything to give them if the people back home decide that they're not going to give their udhiyah, their qurbani this year. It's not just about me. It's not just about what is an obligation and what is a recommendation and do I have to do this or not have to do this. You got to bring love into it and embrace what it means to be an abd and how you take guidance from your Rabb, who's telling you to go towards things simply because they are good for you to do. These days of Dhul Hijjah, you want to fill them with good deeds. These are not days that you miss any of your prayers. You do the acts at the times that they're appointed, and you do more on top of them. Give in your charity, read Quran, make dua, be kind to people, smile at those that you know and don't know. Ask the people who serve you food in every coffee shop and cafe, the people who drive you in every Uber and bus, anybody who's around, how their day is going, do they need anything? Inquire, check in, live in such a way where you are moved by a heart and not just a body that is trapped and shackled by a world that's going to tell you that it's not as important as the last Eid was. Every day that you're given in this world is an important day. And how you choose to spend it is going to be your decision. These 10 days are the best 10 days. It's not coming from me, it's coming straight from the Quran, وَلَيَالٍ عَشْرٍ. It's coming straight from the hadith. The Prophet ﷺ, he says that they are the 10 best days. What's going to keep you from taking advantage of them? And planning from a couple of weeks out from now how it is that you will take advantage of them, to strategize around them, to build for yourself what it is that you can fully take from them. We are, inshallah ta'ala, going to have iftar for the day of Arafah. You're more than welcome to be here and break fast with us.
Nice.
We'll have other programs that you can attend that'll talk more deeply about some of these days that you can gain some information and knowledge from. Our sister Shazia Mayman, who's a nurse, she's for the last few years in Ramadan provided meals to parents who are in hospitals for suhoor and iftar, who have terminally ill children. And for this Eid, what she does is collect toys for children who are celebrating Eid in the hospital. If you can imagine this. We'll run a campaign to be able to provide those gifts to these little babies who are celebrating in this way. That's why you gotta love the people around you with a lot more stronger of a love. Because I don't know if you've ever been in a hospital room with parents and their children as they're trying to celebrate Eid in a small room, white walls, and a bed that has numerous machines strapped to the baby's arms and bodies. And all you gotta do is get a toy for them. The deeds just come to you. You don't have to do anything but push a button. The Hijjah, we will run a campaign to be able to provide it to people who are in need, but you have to decide for yourself. The minimums are not what you want to strive for. You want to strive to give what you can to the fullest of your capacity. So if you can give one share or one lamb or one goat, then do that. But if Allah has blessed you with the ability to feed 10, to feed 20, to feed 50, why would you not do it? And this question is important to actually answer. What am I an abd of? What has my attentiveness of my heart? What is it that is the source of my guidance, that informs my decisions, how I treat people, how I treat the world, how I treat myself? And the blessing of having the gift of this deen is that it gives to you everything that you need to be able to approach any ethical question that arises in your life. You just have to be willing to take the guidance, whether it's easy or difficult. It gives you the mechanisms to be able to choose choices with a sense of confidence and the opportunity to actually get back up if you have fallen and gone in a direction that doesn't make sense. But it all gets pushed away if I don't even know or want to acknowledge that I'm actually more subservient to wealth, to dunya. I'm more subservient to what I look like, what people think of me. In these 10 days, the tahleel, the tasbih, the tahmeed, they're increased. And you're saying Allahu Akbar, Allahu Akbar, Allahu Akbar, because Allah is greater than all of it. Allah is greater than the anxiety, Allah is greater than the stress, Allah is greater than the boxes that the people seek to put you in. Allah is greater than the negativity, the toxicity, Allah is greater than any of the things that seem like they are successes. These 10 days of Dhul Hijjah, you want to embrace your role as an abd. You want to, with presence, make this dua, Ihdina as-sirat al-mustaqim, and allow for yourself to be comfortable both asking and answering the question, do I take hidayah from Allah Azza wa Jal and make Him actually my Rabb? Or is there something else that I am submitting myself to? And is that something that's really worth it? In these days, we want to be ready for those days, so that when we stand in front of Him on that day, we'll be able to the best of our ability say that, Ya Rabb, we tried our best and we tried to fulfill our purpose in the ways that we could. أقول قولي هذا واستغفر الله لي ولكم ولسائر المسلمين فاستغفروه إنه هو الغفور الرحيم. إن الحمد لله نحمده ونستعينه ونستغفره ونؤمن به ونتوكل عليه ونعوذ بالله من شرور أنفسنا ومن سيئات أعمالنا من يهده الله تعالى فلا مضل له ومن يضلل فلا هادي له ونشهد أن لا إله إلا الله وحده لا شريك له ونشهد أن سيدنا مولانا محمدا عبده ورسوله. Inshallah ta'ala, Allah gives us the tawfiq to reach the coming month of Dhul Hijjah, and He blesses us to see it as a gift, to see it as an opportunity in a season of worship, to take advantage of days in a month that by His wisdom He has deemed there to be more blessing, more barakah, more opportunity for increase. But what you get out of it is going to be based off of what you put into it. And so make sure that you don't leave anything to chance. You put in as full of an exertion and effort as you can. You encourage people towards what is good in those days. Don't create opportunity for people to be distracted and swayed towards other things. Inshallah ta'ala, Allah Azza wa Jal will accept from all of us. Inna Allah wa malaikatahu yusalluna ala nabi ya ayyuhalladhina amanu sallu alayhi wa sallimu taslima. Allahumma salli wa sallim wa barik ala Sayyidina Muhammad في الأولين وفي الآخرين. اللهم صل وسلم وبارك على سيدنا محمد وعلى آله وصحبه وبارك وسلم يا أرحم الراحمين. اللهم إنك عفو كريم تحب العفو فاعف عنا. يا مقلب القلوب ثبت قلوبنا على دينك. اللهم اجعلنا من المخلصين. اللهم اجعلنا من المخلصين. اللهم اجعلنا من المخلصين. We begin this supplication in your name, Ya Allah, and beseech you to send your choicest salutations upon your most beloved, sallallahu ta'ala alayhi wa sallam. We ask that you shower your infinite mercy upon this gathering, granting each and every one who is present herein and our loved ones only the best in this world and the best in the next. We ask, Ya Allah, that if all of us are meant to be together only at this time, at this place, whether we are young or old, male or female, regardless of our race, our ethnicity, our social class, our country of origin, our cultural heritage, whether we are Muslim or come from a different walk of life, Ya Rabbi, if our individual hearts are meant to be in the presence of all other hearts that are gathered here, only at this time, at this place, then gather us all together again in the best of places in the world beyond this one. Increase us, Ya Allah, in all that is good. Make us from amongst those who reach the blessed month of Dhul Hijjah. Make us from amongst those who seize every opportunity for barakah, blessing, increase in all that is good. Let each of the days that we witness amongst those days be days that are counted in our favor. Fill them with our records of good deeds, Ya Allah, actions that are pleasing only to you. Increase us in sincerity and strength. Make us people of selflessness, not selfishness, sincerity and never self-centeredness. For all those who will be going for Hajj, Ya Allah, we ask that you grant them a safe journey. Watch over them, Ya Rabb, accept from them all of their actions, their du'as, and return them back to their homes in a state better than which they had left. Enable us, Ya Rabbi, to be able to fulfill all of the fara'id that you have asked us to do for our benefit. And let us begin by taking advantage of the days that come ahead of us, Ya Allah. Ya Kareem, you who is most generous. The day of Arafah is the day that du'as are accepted. We have so many secret desires that we long for khair to be placed in, Ya Allah. Ya Allah, accept the most secret of wishes of each one who is gathered here, and grant to them every dua that their heart is yearning to have answered, giving them even better than what it is that they are asking of you for. Ya Allah, let us be from amongst those who the day of Arafah is a witness for us and not against us. Let us be amongst those who are able to reap from its blessings and benefits, even sitting here in the middle of New York City. Help us, Ya Rabbi, to take everything that we can from the gift of the Hijjah that you have given to us. That if we have the means to fast, Ya Allah, then make us those who fast on those days. If we have the wealth, Ya Allah, to perform the udhiyah, the qurbani, to help provide food to those who are in need, then make us those who give and give and give and continue to give as much as we can, Ya Allah, knowing that there are so many on the receiving end who literally have nothing. Bless us with the gift of good community, sisters and brothers, to perform in these good actions with throughout those days. And if we must take them on our own, Ya Allah, then help us to always remember that you are with us no matter where we go. Make us those who always feel your presence, the presence of your love, the presence of your mercy. Protect us always from hearts that are not humble, tongues that are not wise, and eyes that have forgotten how to cry. Forgive us for our shortcomings and guide and bless us all. ربنا تقبل منا إنك أنت السميع العليم وتب علينا يا مولانا إنك أنت التواب الرحيم وصلى الله تعالى على خير خلقه محمد وآله وصحبه أجمعين برحمتك يا أرحم الراحمين وقم الصلاة.
We hope you enjoyed our podcast. If you're inspired by the work that we're doing at the IC and want to help keep it going, subscribe to our podcasts, follow us on social media, donate to help support us at ICNYU.org, and most importantly, keep us in your continued du'as. Until next time, inshallah. Assalamu alaikum.